Hello and welcome. You're watching Ask BQ on Bloomberg Quint. I'm Pradeep Pandya.
Hi everyone, and I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza. Well, this is the show where we address all your stock queries. You can write to us on Twitter, Facebook, or just call us on 022-4540-4141. You can also mail us at askpq@bloombergquint.com with all your financial queries, and we'll try and address as many as possible on the show today. Just remember to add the AskPQ hashtag. Let's get in our two experts of the day then, Raja Venkatraman of Chart Advice and Ashish Kukreja of Craft Wealth Management are here to answer all your queries. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Good afternoon to both of you.
But before we get to individual queries, here is a quick look at what's happening in the markets. If you look at Nifty or Sensex, there is some pressure at higher levels. Even yesterday, we saw that markets were trying to kind of hit new highs. They did go to a new high intraday, but they couldn't sustain. So there is some supply. Selectively, there could be some profit booking in the Nifty or the heavyweight stocks. But there is a lot of buying interest in mid caps. If you look at the mid cap and small cap indices, they are doing a tad better than the large cap index. But also selectively, if you see some stocks like Axis Bank has moved up because there is an interest from a PE fund to make a huge capital infusion. Maybe that's the report. You have Bharat Electronic moving up on the news, on the results actually, and also Arcom. That is actually interesting. We thought there was only bad news coming in, but market has interpreted the news positively, with banks are actually likely to kind of gain majority control over this company and plans to develop the real estate. Also, you have Jet Airways that continues to move up. You have GMR Infra, while GVK is hitting the higher circuits every day. Today, GMR has also moved up. Then you also have Balaji Mines that came out with interesting numbers. So that's another stock which is moving up on results. In mid cap and small cap, actually, there are quite a few stocks, even pre-call for that matter. I don't know what's the reason really, but the stock has moved up quite a bit in today's trade. Although one indicator that you keep watching, that is volatility, is also inching up.
It's been higher since yesterday. Remember, we highlighted during our show, just giving you an indication that there could be near-term correction, and 12.5 is that crucial mark on India VIX, which most of the technical analysts watch out for. Well, so far it continues to be a stock-specific market, but it's time for us to answer all our viewer queries. Our first query comes from Raj Shah, who has written to us on Facebook. He wants to invest in IDFC with a long-term view. He wants to know if this is the right level to enter into IDFC. Well, the stock has been in focus post that deal with Shriram Group has been called off. Both the companies failed to arrive at any sort of share swap operation. That's the reason why all these stocks have been in focus, right from IDFC, IDFC Bank, and also the Shriram Group companies have been in focus. But let me take this query to Raja. Technically on the charts, would you advise anyone to enter into this counter at these levels, or one should wait out?
Yeah, if you take a look at the charts, the prices have been testing the lows for a while, and over the last 5 to 6 years they have been testing those lows and trying to move up. And the positive news flow which was regarding the deal, that has also drawn to a knot. So if you look at the perspective of an investor, and if he's looking to wait for a longer period of time, then he could look to invest in this. But if he's an active investor, I think that he could look at some other counter.
So you mean to say this is not really a performing stock?
This is not a performing stock because there's no positive news flows, and there's nothing much to trigger it as an investment perspective. But if the investor is having a longer duration of patience and is willing to hold on for a longer duration of time, then he could look to invest in IDFC at the moment.
Okay, so if you are a momentum trader or investor really, you should stay away.
Yeah.
Ashish, I guess a large number of investors are actually watching, and we keep getting queries on IDFC and IDFC Bank almost every day. Would you have a different view?
See, it's a event which is played on to the prices. We all understand that. Now there are a lot of speculation around that maybe IDFC Bank will eventually get merged, or they may start looking out for more options. But see, you need to understand that both the entities are not going to really react much right now. Probably once this news is played out now, stocks will start looking up because they were trading in a range. I still believe that IDFC Bank is a good portfolio stock. It's a very contrarian view right now, Pradeep. You may understand that they will not post any good numbers for next almost like 2 years. But I clearly feel that there is something which this bank is trying to address, and it's a long discussion here. And if you hold this stock for 2 years kind of perspective, it can actually turn out to be one of the outperforming stocks. So I will not hold a view on IDFC because of the events which have played out, but I will say on the face of it, IDFC Bank for next 2 years is a good story. It will not perform immediately, but that's one stock which will do good in banking sector.
Okay, so IDFC Bank is the stock that one should hold on in a longer term portfolio. Shivang writes to us on Twitter. He has 100 shares of MOIL bought at 280 rupees with 6 months view, and he wants to know if he should hold or sell. Well, we should take a technical view on this.
Yeah, if you look at MOIL, the primary reason for it to move up is one of the reasons for the government initiative on the electric vehicle initiative, and being a large producer of manganese as well as lithium, which is one of the primary elements of the electric vehicle development, that is now acting on the prices, and the initiatives actually push the prices quite high, and the prospects of the stock to move higher is looking very good because there is a good rounding pattern seen on the charts, and the prospects of almost doubling in the next 1 to 1.5 years is very much on the prospects. So one should look to hold this stock.
All right, so that's the view coming in on MOIL. You can look to hold on if you have taken that stock. Let's move on and take another query which comes from Prashant C. Katrabid. He's written to us on Twitter. Prashant has 225 shares of RBL Bank bought at a price of 508. He's got a very long-term horizon, 10-year view. He wants to know if he should hold or sell. Ashish, view on RBL Bank, he has a 10-year horizon here, and if I look at this counter, it's given decent returns on YTD basis, one of the outperformer if I have to look at, compare it to the other banking stocks. For a 10-year horizon at current multiples, would you be comfortable with holding RBL?
Actually, not really. It's again something it's very difficult to take your call on. The stock has done really well, and numbers quarter on quarter have definitely met the expectations of most of the analysts on the street. But I believe that these are stretch valuations, and probably some of the concerns on the asset side is still there. So I think the way the opportunities have now emerged in PSU space, and for that matter, some of the private banking names which will not compromise on growth in even current challenging environment. So I would rather bet on stocks like PNB or Axis Bank, or for that matter Kotak Bank on lower levels. And RBL kind of poses few more risk factors for me. So I'm not saying it's a bad stock, but there are much better options in the sector.
Good stock but risky. Raja, you want to come in on this?
Yeah. If you look at the RBL Bank, it has been consolidating from the technical perspective on higher time frame charts at the higher levels, and with all the other major private banks being run up, so people would like to invest in such counters. So I am of the opinion that investing into stock at this point in time would be a good buy, because if somebody wants to invest into the banking space, then this would be a stock which one go into.
So you want to buy into this stock, but you said it's consolidating.
It's consolidating at the higher levels, which is a positive sign.
What would be the right price to buy in that case?
The current levels.
Okay, at around 525, RBL is something that can be bought into. Yeah. We are getting lots of your queries on Facebook and Twitter as well, so let's move to Facebook. And Prajwal Ghosh wants to invest in Tata Global Beverages and UPL with a long-term view. Is it the right time for Tata Global and UPL? Long-term perspective, Ashish, what do you say?
I think both the stories are good. Definitely consumption is one theme which is looking at some of the numbers and the trend how it is. But obviously I clearly believe that some of the consumers have started asking for change in terms of the product profile and stuff like that, and I think Tata Global Beverages will have challenging time ahead. So I think that there can be some more downside to the counter in the next few quarters, and that will be a good opportunity. And I'm sure management has come out and told that they are kind of reworking on a lot of stuff. So I believe that these are not good levels. UPL definitely looks good. Rural is one theme which is on top of everyone's mind, and I believe that rural economy is going to be one key factor for this market to run up, and any stock which is closely linked with the rural economy is going to do well. So UPL is quality company. Look at the results which have come out. So UPL is a good buy. Even on downside it looks good. Tata Beverages, I would say hold on for a while.
All right, so hold on to Tata Global Beverages and UPL if one wants to invest at these levels. According to Ashish, these are the good levels to put your money in that counter. Let's take another query from Facebook itself. This comes from Rajiv. He's asking what stocks will be benefited the most by government's Bharatmala project. We've actually received this query before also when the cabinet actually approved the road ministry's proposal on the Bharatmala project. But I'll take this question to Ashish. We've seen a good rally coming for stocks like Dilip Bilkon, and we know the other companies also are benefiting. But if I were to ask you, because of this project, if somebody wants to put money in one counter, which one would that be, Ashish?
See, I believe that companies which have done strong execution and are carrying good books will obviously benefit more in terms of the margins and opportunity ahead. So NCC is one stock which looks good to me at every downside. Probably considering that Rakesh Jhunjhunwala holding such a good probably position in that. So you would understand that it's a good story ahead, and numbers have also looked good, and management looks very confident of various opportunities in the sector ahead. So NCC is one stock which I believe whenever you get under 90 rupees is something which you should accumulate.
Okay, anytime it's under 90, it's time to accumulate. That's the call here. Reliance Infra is the other stock that H. Shah is looking at, and he wants a perspective for 6 to 9 months. Raja, what do you say?
Reliance Infra is a stock which has gone into it keeps wavering. Mm-hmm. So it would be better if one actually stays away from investing into Reliance Infra, and it's more of a trading element.
All right, that's the view coming in. Reliance Infra, it could be a good trading bet if one wants to look at that counter. Let's take another query. This one comes from Guru Sharan, and she's written to us on Facebook. She wants to know, is BEL a good bet for a long-term investment or not? Ashish, do you like BEL?
Yes, I think so, because the way opportunity is coming up, and the whole I would not go into micro details, but the whole modernization and the way the equipment of various government agencies have to move ahead and change, and I believe that BEL is going to get most of that business through various schemes. So I think this is going to be one major beneficiary, and if it's a long-term bet, I think you should definitely get into that stock and not look at it for at least another couple of years.
Okay, so that's the call on Bharat Electronics. Let's move on, and the next question comes from Ashish Kumar. He wants to know what's the view on banking space. Ashish has asked a very open-ended question here. I'll understand what exactly should he buy if he's interested in banking right now. Raja, do you think it's a good time to buy PSU banks? They moved up. They are also seeing some amount of profit booking. What do you really do here?
Correct. So the banking space has the recent news regarding the recapitalization has actually generated a bottom in the banks. So there were heavy shorts which were built up in the banking space, and
before the news
came, and it has led to a good short covering action. And from that banking space, we find stocks like SBI or even PNB, which are looking as a promising bet for the coming months. So definitely banking space is a space which one could look for investment.
So you think these are good trading bets with a 1 or 2 month perspective?
Yes,
SBI
yes, definitely,
PNB?
yes, yeah.
All right, so that's the view coming in on the banking stocks. If one wants to take a trading bet, you can probably look at stocks like State Bank of India as well as Punjab National Bank. Sure.
Indian Bank as well.
All right, Indian Bank is the other one. Actually, this stock has also been pretty active, Indian Bank, in the past few sessions. But what you're seeing on your screen today is largely, call it profit booking, because yesterday we did see a huge surge coming about in the PSU banking space. Let's take more queries. This one comes from Sanjeev Kumar, who's written to us on Facebook. He has 2,215 shares of Yes Bank, which Sanjeev bought at a price of 340 rupees, and he's got a long-term view. He wants to know what should he do with his investment in Yes Bank. Well, the stock's trading around levels of 317. Ashish, would you take a bet on Yes Bank? If not, then which other stock would you advise Sanjeev to put his money in?
It's a very interesting phase for banking sector. You need to understand that the bounty which PSU banks have got will pose some challenges for these private banking stocks. But we all understand that the whole growth orientation will never be compromised, and private banking will find its way now ahead. So lot has to play out for this sector in terms of how this reform plays out, and then what are the opportunities ahead for private banking space as well. So with regard to all that, I'm not going into detail, but I think some of the banks which have done well on the commercial side and are going to do well. So I think Yes Bank is one of them, but results have definitely raised few questions for me. I'm not saying these are bad levels to enter, but I think I will not be investing in the stock right away when I have opportunities like Kotak Bank and probably HDFC Bank. I would say get into this bank. Don't look at this bank for at least 3 to 6 months. You're going to make good money in HDFC Bank. It has kind of got some beating because of this particular news on PSU space, and it is an opportunity for most of the investors to get in for a medium term kind of view. So Kotak Bank, HDFC Bank, I will wait for Yes Bank and see more clarity on some of the questions on asset concerns and corporate management, side.
Okay, so keep buying expensive private sector banks. That's the kind of call which Ashish is actually giving out. Let's look at what are the questions coming on Facebook. There is one question from Kirti Mishra. He wants a view on Federal Bank, bought at 120. What's your view on Federal Bank, Raja?
Yeah, Federal Bank, I have been maintaining a positive view. Even last time I had discussed, it is at a multi-month high, and the stock continues to consolidate and move higher. And the continuing buying interest definitely indicates that it has got more prospects to the region of 145. And if you see the technical perspective, it has been maintaining a good trendline support, and the volumes are also picking up consistently, which definitely indicates that the prospects of moving higher are very much on the cards. So it's a good investment prospect.
Okay, that's the view on Federal Bank. Let's take more queries which are coming on Twitter at the moment. This one comes from Nikhil. He says he's got 102 shares of Infi, which he bought at a price of 921. He's asking, should he exit at buyback or hold? And he's also a long-term investor here, and I think today is the last date for the buyback. And also the stock's gone ex-dividend as well. Till yesterday you had the Infi futures trading at discount, but today it's back at par. In fact, there has been a bit of premium which one can see on Infosys. Ashish, what would you suggest a retail investor, should they tender their shares in buyback or not?
See, one, we are away from IT, not any recommendation, but if I have to force myself and have one stock or couple of stocks from the sector in the portfolio, Infosys is a top bet. Now 1150, considering that it's long way ahead for the stock, you should definitely go ahead and tender and probably expect most of it to go through. But still, this is a good stock to hold. I see a lot of limited downside to it. There's not too much which can go wrong now from here in terms of most of the news is played out, in as many words. So it may not be like one of the outperformer stocks for the market, but in IT space, I think it is bound to do well for next few quarters. So hold on to it and definitely tender your shares as much you can.
Okay, so had you bought yesterday or before, you can definitely tender your share. But if you buy today, you don't get to tender because it's already X for that buyback offer starting today. And that could be one of the reasons why the stock is actually trending down in today's trade. Let's move ahead and look at the next caller. M. Srinivas has written to us on Twitter. He wants to invest in the markets with a 5-year view and he wants some advice. Well, what advice Mr. Srinivas should really be given? Ashish, what is your strategy for 5 years? Will you buy right away? How much cash will you keep and what stocks, a few if you could advise?
See, we are always invested in the market, so it's very difficult to say that, obviously we do hedge ourselves as much we can when markets are in a volatile phase, but we never stay in cash. So I would, and the way, let me kind of not talk about 5 years, but quickly if I have to sum it up, because he's a long-term investor, the way results have started coming in and the trend is kind of looking up, I believe market are definitely going to do well. We may have some correction here and there in the short term, but long-term market fundamentals are clearly intact. So definitely go with the economy stocks, go with stocks which are going to do well for India's story. So you have to go for banking, you have to go for infrastructure, you have to go for oil and gas stocks. I think these are the stocks, and also the way HUL results have come out. So I was just talking about rural economy, so also some of the FMCG names. So if you can create a basket of, if I have to mention few stocks for you, HUL, PNB, ONGC, some of these stocks I think will definitely keep doing well in spite of the fact that they are large cap stocks.
All right, that's the view coming in on markets. If somebody wants to make any sort of fresh investment, Ashish likes banking as well as oil and gas space. Let's take the other query from Twitter itself. This one comes from Naimish Gohil. He wants a view on Vikas Ecotech and LT Foods with a long-term horizon. Ashish, I'll get this query back to you. Do you track Vikas Ecotech and LT Foods? If yes, then what's the view on these two stocks?
Oh, I'm afraid I don't really track both the stocks.
Not a problem. I'll just get a technical view on these two stocks from Raja. Anything on Vikas as well as LT Foods?
Yeah, as far as Vikas Ecofood is concerned, in terms of in a short-term perspective, there's nothing much to look out for. But if he's a long-term investor, then he can look to hold because it's been making new highs and the trendline support is also holding well. And from our proprietary models, I foresee that the prospects of moving higher is very much on the cards. And with the low price at 21, it's a good prospect for an investor.
Okay, so it's Raja is actually positive on this stock. Yeah. Avinash De Villiers has written to us on Facebook and he's holding 3,500 shares of TTML. He wants to know, will the stock keep moving up? What's your view really? The stock started moving up, Ashish, after the announcement that Tata Group is going to sell the telecom business or the wireless telecom business to Bharti. What's your take on this stock? What should he do now?
I am afraid, Pradeep, I really don't track the story, but even if I have to give you a perspective, see what has happened to Arcom and the way things have now kind of shaping up ahead. So definitely Tata Group will have the fact that the key person has come out and said that they will do something about it and there are plans to kind of offload. So we will have something ahead of us. So if you're already holding it, definitely makes sense to keep holding it and wait for the news to come out and you will get your exit. The way Arcom has behaved today, in fact, everyone was aware probably a few weeks back that Arcom is shutting the business on voice side and all the stores are getting closed and stuff like that. So clearly, I also see something like this happening to TTML. I'm not saying that close factor, but some event is ahead of us. So please keep holding on.
Okay, that's the view on TTML. Let's take Anil Salaria's query. He's asking, what is the view on Tata Steel? Well, the numbers came out yesterday. The Europe business actually disappointed in terms of EBITDA per ton. But let's just check. Raja, on the charts, metal counters have been on a tear. The stock's seen a bit of correction. Would you advise to buy on any sort of correction?
Yeah, the metal sector per se has been doing pretty well. And from this sector, Tata Steel has been quite prominent, and it's been forging ahead for the last few months. From the way the charts are panning out, it has crossed its recent high at 700. So any pullback to the region of 650 to 670 is a good pullback to buy, because right now the risks are quite high at higher levels. So one could look at dips in the region of 650 to 670 as an ideal pullback region to buy. Overall, the perspective is good, and with the RSI above 70, it clearly indicates that the more fresh moves can emerge.
Okay, so buy on dips is the call on Tata Steel. 650 to 670 is the range where one could think of buying. Well, on that note, we will thank our guests. Thanks Ashish and Raja for helping our viewers with all the queries. That's all that we have on this edition of Ask BQ.
But remember, we are just a tweet, post or a call away. So keep your queries coming, and we promise to address all of them through our shows. You can also log on to bloombergquint.com, search for hashtag AskBQ and get answers to all the queries that were discussed on the show today. Power Lunch is up next. Keep it with Bloomberg Quint Live.